You should read your Bible, sirs. You'll find all types of weird shit in there.
Hey, want to have a rousing discussion about truth, honor, patriotism?
No, not you. Not you. Your organization's terrible. Quiet. I'm not going to give you a question. You are fake news.
How about new, you crazy Dutch bastard?
You ever been mindfucked before?
You are fake news.
On America.
The media said what?
Let's see what these deep state characters are up to.
Now you see that evil will always triumph because good is dumb.
Hello. Yes, good is very dumb. And for evidence, I'm here, and I'm good. Hello, everyone. Welcome into Dig on America. This is Jason Dutch. We are here for Left Angle, and that is clearly not Lindsay.
No. She's, I mean, I don't look so bad for 46, but she prettier than me.
Yeah, that's 2 for 2. We are expecting Lindsay coming in. She has some stuff holding her up tonight, so we decided to get started here with Dave from over at EchoPlex Media. Now, Dave, you have been on Dig on America. Actually, you were on Voice from the Underground, like back in like 2018 or some shit. So you've been a friend of the program for a long time. I think I've been on your show once or maybe twice even. So
I think once and then one failure to launch because we tried to get you on via Video Ninja and there was some problem with the settings and I just had to keep it rolling. Look, so we'll call it 1.1 times. Any
time that you give me a platform that's the platform that I haven't used and tell me, oh, it's really easy to use, just jump right on and do this, it will never work for me. So yeah, you know, it's one thing I've learned about podcasting and streaming, as you know, is evident tonight because, you know, Lindsay's run a little bit late. And then last week we had sick kids and like, it's always something. It's never like, you know, guests not showing up or, you know, audio not working, internet outages. It's just a nonstop mess. But, you know, we persevere because, Dave, as you know, millions of dollars just keep falling on us from George Soros daily. So, I mean, this is why we continue doing it.
That is, in fact, who gives everybody their $5 a month that subs on my channel. It's like a distributed, complicated network because, of course, it is.
Yeah, it comes directly from George. And we thank you, George, for the wealthy lifestyle that we all live based on your benevolence, you know, and all those other things that Marjorie Taylor Greene will accuse you of. Non-benevolence, of course. So for those of you who are listening in on the Dutch Jason channel, I'll probably say this a couple times, swing on over to the Dig on America channel. Most of you follow both shows. So just twitch.tv/Dig on America _podcast. Come over there. If you're listening on audio, hello, join us live on Wednesday nights for the Wednesday night show and Friday nights for the Friday night show. Those should both make a lot of sense. Shouldn't be that hard to figure out. And also our Sunday show, which I am not on, which is probably our best show with Lauren. But since we have Dave here, we will start out talking about a couple of things. Then we have some fun stories to get into later on. Once Lindsay joins us, we'll probably get to those at the top of the hour. Dave, though, for those who are maybe listening on audio or checking out my channel, tell us a little bit about what you guys do over there at EchoPlex and like what keeps you rolling night in and night out.
We're the tip of the spear on the late night dystopia beat on Twitch here. Cults, high control groups, and like cult-like communities online, particularly conspiracy communities and how they sort of operate like distributed cults is like one of the big things we talk about. Outside of that, we have a local news show that I would usually be doing right now, but my co-host for that is on vacation in Puerto Vallarta. So
Nice.
yeah. I'm like, that's it's okay if we take the week off, dude. I'm like, go have your vacation. And then we do local music. We have a local music show called Local Love. It's actually on hiatus while we kind of retool it and rebrand it and everything. And tomorrow night we're actually doing a big giveaway of one of the people who does the soundtrack essentially for our channel. Patty K, his album is coming out on the 1st, and we're doing some early release giveaways, including his entire discography and some recordings from here in the studio and from our previous location of him just kind of, jamming live like during the shows going back to 2016. That's stuff you're only going to get from us. And there's like limited edition shirts we might give out a few of with his album cover and our logos on it and stuff. We try to have fun, but it's mostly dreary. Oh, and then sometimes late at night I'll drink like half a bottle of vodka and spin house music.
Yeah, that's usually when I end up tuning in. And it's almost every, and there's been a couple of times where I've done a raid over to your channel and I'm like, oh crap, he's DJing, he's not even talking. And I'm like, I wonder if the people are going to like that, but they usually seem to be just fine. So, because they come over from listen to some drab asshole like myself talk about politics and then go over to like this high energy, but very chill space where everyone's high and, you see a lot of dancing emojis. And I always wonder how that transition goes for people.
I mean, I warn everybody, like when I change over, I warn everybody. I'm like, hey, I'm going to play a long song and, switch the lights up to disco mode, turn on the light for the disco ball.
By a long song, you mean like 73 songs strung together?
Oh, no. I mean, like before, like while I switch everything over, like I have to move cameras around and stuff. So I'll grab something long from our local Love library and rock that. But yeah, something like 73 songs if I play 2 hours, maybe 50 tracks. It depends. Just depends on what I'm doing, how ambitious I am.
So you have turntables set up there in the studio? Is that what
well, not vinyl, but yeah, I have, it's right over here.
You've got the new you mix with
digital
with MP3, I take it.
Well, hopefully I can get like a FLAC or a WAV file from somebody. It doesn't matter so much here, but like at an event, like on a big system, it does matter actually. If you're on like a massive system where there's like everything's just loud, it matters a lot actually if you have like a lossless format. But yeah, it's digital.
Yeah, I learned to DJ back in the 90s, and I learned on, well, first I had a 4-track, then I had an 8-track. But I started getting decent on vinyl, and then it became impossible to get vinyl because all the little record stores that we'd get the vinyl at closed down. And then people switched over to CDs, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go out, and went out and I bought, and this was probably like, I don't remember, 2001, something like that. I went out and bought like this nice CD mixer. I never learned how to use it. I ended up selling it like 7 years later for like pennies on the dollar. And it was a complete waste because right after I bought it, I don't remember exactly when that transition happened, but it wasn't that long after the mixing on CDs was not a very long-lived animal. It was probably only had like 6 or 7 years.
I mean, people still use things that look like the CD players, but yeah, it's all everybody brings up. Like if I go to a gig now, it used to be that like I'd have to bring like a record bag or a crate or whatever of records. Now I literally bring 2 thumb drives in case one of them fails and my headphones, and that's all I have to show up at a gig with.
Can't you technically just spin from like Spotify? Like
I would never trust the internet at a club for anything.
But can't you download stuff from Spotify? Like if you have a Spotify account?
That's not right. I mean, I don't know.
No, but I get what you're saying though. Yeah, I get it.
That's not right. That's not where I get my music. I either get it if I don't know the people at the label, I get it on like Beatport, and if I do know the people on the label, well, it just shows up in my inbox usually. So,
what's up, TB Cookies? He's asking, is EchoPlex a play on Echo Chamber?
No, our first blog was called The Daily Echo, and then Randall, who no longer is on this project, actually ended up moving in with me at the last place I was at, and he just got drunk one night and kept referring to our place as the EchoPlex because he was talking about the blog, basically annoying all of our guests talking about the blog. And I know that there's a club in Los Angeles called the EchoPlex, and I know that's also a famous it's also a famous like delay, like a old school delay effect. But it's really funny though. Every once in a while, I'll get an email for people who think that my email address is the one for the club, and they'll be like, "I lost my sweater." I'm like, "I don't have your sweater. Sorry."
No, what you should tell them is that you do have their sweater, and that for a small nominal fee, they can come collect that sweater. You know, and then you just give them like some random shirt that you stopped wearing 14 years ago, and oh, that's not yours. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, but you can keep that.
That club's about 400 miles away from where I live, so they better really want that sweater if they.
Hey, it was a vintage sweater they bought at like H&M. You know, it was really good stuff. So, one of the things that what we'll probably do here is I'm just for the listeners out there. Lindsay had told me that she was going to run a little bit late. I'm going to assume that she's going to be on. But there's a couple things I'm saving special for her because I secretly hate Lindsay and I like to make her life miserable. So I save the really, really repulsive stuff for her. I have a few passages from the Holy Book that we will be reading later on today. So I was going to start that at top of the hour, though I haven't heard back from her yet. So hopefully everything's okay. But assuming that that's the case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. Oh, she's actually coming on right now. Okay, that's good news.
Excellent.
So, yeah, so I just got the text message just now. So we'll keep it a little bit friendly here while we wait for her to get in. But one of these stories that I wanted to jump into today, I think I had this one up. Let me see if I can find it here. This is just ridiculous, and it's not pulling up, of course, but it shouldn't be hard to find. I don't know if you saw this story, but I'm going to share my screen. You guys should get a kick out of this one. So those of you who follow the National Basketball League may be aware of the fact that we have there has been some changes this year with a few of the quarterbacks that are out there switching teams. One of the quarterbacks who switched teams was Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo, who went over from being the San Francisco 49ers starting quarterback, and then after Trey Lance was elevated to that job, he was the backup quarterback. Then after Trey Lance was hurt, he was the starting quarterback again. And then after Trey Lance got hurt, or he got hurt, then he was the backup quarterback again to Brock Purdy. And then he was on the outs, but went over to the LA Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders now. And upon being brought over to the Raiders, I don't know if you saw this, Dave, Jimmy Garoppolo has been offered free sex for life by Las Vegas brothel after joining the Raiders. This is the young lady, one of the young ladies who has offered Jimmy free sex for life. And this is the other here. And they're both the owners of the brothels. He deserves it. He deserves free sex just for joining our team. But he gets free sex for life from us just because he's such a legit babe. Alice Little, another member of the Chicken Ranch, pointed out that Super Bowl 2024 is at Allegiant Stadium, and she wanted to help him bring the Raiders to the big game by whatever means are necessary. Jimmy brought the Niners to the Super Bowl, and he could do the same for the Raiders. The next big game is in Vegas, so I'm going all the way personally to inspire Jimmy to go all the way. And this is another of the young ladies who has offered him free sex for life. Apparently, there are 3 women who have done so. So I'm not sure what rules have been violated here, if any, or if there's really anything to this story outside of, a couple of strip clubs trying to get into the news. But your reaction
That doesn't look like a guy who needs anybody to offer him free sex for life.
That's my thought. It's almost a rich get richer type of scenario.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, not only is Jimmy Garoppolo, what is his contract? Jimmy Garoppolo's contract is 137 million 500. Oh, Jimmy Garoppolo signed a 5-year, $137 million contract, including a 7-year, $7 million signing bonus. Now, all of that was not guaranteed, right? But because the NFL has really wacky contracts and they don't necessarily look out for their players, especially the black quarterbacks. But dude's got millions of dollars, so he could go to any brothel that he wanted to and pay,
or just purchase the brothel,
or purchase the brothel. Yeah, that's a good point too. But like he's probably in the top 2% of most handsome men that are out there.
Yeah.
So whether he wanted women, men, or both, who cares? He doesn't need their help. This is unfair. I'm filing a protest. Where do I file a grievance?
On behalf of regular looking dudes everywhere, this is very unfair. I think you're right.
Are we able to speak for regular looking dudes?
I hope I am.
I'm not sure I qualify. I don't know. We'll have to get the opinion of the chat as to whether or not I qualify for a regular looking dude or not. But you know, it's just funny because every time that I hear about like one of these professional athletes going into a restaurant, this is obviously not as extreme as the situation that we just looked at, but you know, if you're sitting in a steakhouse and you know you go to like Ruth's Chris or Morgan's or something like that, and you know, you're bringing your significant other or maybe a friend there, you go there on a date or you take your work colleagues out there and, you know, you've worked hard for your money. Oh, I look amazing. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, TB Cookies, for letting me know I look amazing. Of course, you're talking to me. I know this. But you look next to you and there's like, you know, Debo Samuel or, you know, some baseball player for the Dodgers or Javi Baez from the Cubs or whoever the case may be. And the waiter walks up to them inevitably and they go, oh, thank you, Mr. Baez, Mr. Sandberg, Mr. Dawson, you know, whoever the case may be, Mr. Kershaw. Everything's on the house for you tonight. It doesn't sit very well with me. I think you should be charging them triple and letting Dansby Swanson. Yeah. I think you should be charging them triple and making them pay for the people at the seat next to them. But no.
If I had that kind of money, I'd just be like, bring everybody's bill to me, please, while I'm here, actually. Like, just be like, bring me everyone's bill.
But the crazy part is like, even, and this happens with actors too, with politicians. Like, I don't know if politicians legally can accept a free meal. I'm actually unclear on that as to whether or not politicians can accept a free meal. Are you aware of that? Can politicians accept a free meal?
I would have to say that it's probably not against like campaign finance rules, but it's probably frowned upon.
Yeah, whatever's against campaign finance is usually can politicians accept free meals? Gifts guidance, the House Committee on Ethics says, let's find out what this is. The federal government and House of Representatives have long recognized that the public is an office of public trust. The public has a right to expect that you are impartial in performing your duties and not influenced by gifts or favors. However, Congress also recognizes that you will be offered gifts that do not raise any genuine ethical concerns or that you could cause needless embarrassment or hurt feelings if denied. Okay, that's fair. The limitations on gifts may come from many sources, including the Constitution's federal statutes or House rules. These rules place limits on accepting gifts, but also have exceptions to those limits. So the gifts total can be $50.
So you maybe you could have like one of like at a fairly nice restaurant, you could have like your appetizer comped. And that's about the limit there.
Yeah, one drink.
Yeah. Maybe two.
Okay.
Maybe two.
Well, unless you're Ted Cruz, of course, and then none of the rules apply.
I don't think anybody wants to offer Ted Cruz a free drink. I would be very upset if I found out that a restaurant that I went to gave Ted Cruz anything for free.
Bullshit. He goes into some, church-owned place, they're going to be like, "Oh, you hate immigrants? Here, all of your food is free. Oh, you don't like trans people? You think they shouldn't exist? Yeah, absolutely. Here's a free taco."
You hate immigrants. Here's a free taco is the funniest thing you've said in a
That's
while.
exactly what it'll be. They'll be like, "Hey, you know what? I know there's some irony here, but your Mexican food is free because you hate Mexicans. Just because you hate Mexicans, Ted, we know you love the food. But hey, that's the way that goes." Okay, story number 2 of the day was, boy, none of these links are working for me here today. This is very embarrassing. Let me see if I can go around the long way on this one as well. I'm not sure why these links aren't working today. Bear with me for 1 sec. Instagram on. I only sent everything to myself beforehand. Okay, it's not going to pull up, and I don't remember what the story was about, so we'll go to this one instead. I'm sort of like waiting for Lindsay to get here so I can go to the 2 stories that are going to really blow her mind. Sorry, listeners, but this is the perils of running a show. It's a much easier when I'm on Twitch because I'm just sitting there watching YouTube videos. So I don't really have to worry about this type of shit. That's kind of why I like that more. And now that's not working either. I don't know what's going on with the internet today. Bear with me 1 second. We'll fix this. That's not okay. This one should work. All right, here we go. Video number 2. My apologies for the internet issues, but you know what, folks? Unless you're going to pay my internet bill, there's really not much for you to tell you. All right. You know what I love is when I live in, you live in an area where you're paying like massive amounts of money for internet service, and it just still doesn't work.
The place I left had fiber.
The place that I am moving is going to have fiber, but so the issue at this place, I'm not sure is the speed. It's the connection. It's just not, it goes in and it goes out. I think there's a firewall up here that my parents have set up because my dad's very big on, like, he thinks that the government's going to come and steal all of his personal secrets. So, all right. So this right here is a video from Barstool Sports. We'll make this a little bit bigger. This is actually, let me read the caption before I do it. Iowa wrestler Spencer Lee went for his 4th national championship tonight, but unfortunately, he got upset. Now, apparently, this was a massive underdog who defeated him. This guy had already won the state championship 3 straight times, and there's Lindsay.
Hey, sorry guys.
What's up,
No
Lindsay?
worries. Lindsay, meet Dave.
Hey, Dave.
Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
You're just in time for our second story.
I'm so excited.
So again, this is Iowa wrestler Spencer Lee, and you just missed the internet issues too. I couldn't get the screens to pull up, so you missed those, unfortunately. But so this guy was going for his 4th national championship, had already won 3 in a row, lost in a huge upset, and his mother had a reaction that went just a little bit viral. And as you can see there, she takes off her eyeglasses and breaks them into about 7 different pieces, whacks them onto the ground, and is inconsolable. There it is
Which
again.
sport is this?
Iowa wrestling.
Oh, okay.
Now, Twitter is a bit ablaze about this And a lot of people are saying, you've never been a mom who has had an athlete kid before. Why are you hating on this mom for just all she's trying to do is just, cheer on her kid? And I get that. I understand. But I got news for you. Your kid already won 3 fucking national championships. And your reaction is to snap your eyeglasses into 7 or 8 different pieces and then smash them at the ground like me in college after I finish a beer, smashing the beer bottle on the ground.
I would say that's a smidge of an overreaction.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's really weird. Sometimes the poorest sportsmanship is from the people who aren't even doing the sportsmanship, right? Like it's not the athletes. It's the, I don't know if I don't have kids, but some of my best friends have kids and they're involved in sports, and they just the stories I hear about some of these like parents where they're just like maybe more into the sport than the kid is, where the parents are like freaking out and yelling from the stands, and the kids are like 8, 10, 12 years old. And it's like, why are you, displaying poor sportsmanship as the parent of a student athlete? And that's my take here, is that she's displaying poor sports personship, let's say. Like,
yes, I would agree with that. It's not even like athletes. Like if you've ever been to like a T-ball game,
the parents, oh my God.
Like, I'm sorry, they're 3-year-olds. They don't even know what they're doing. They just want to run in circles and like put the mitt over their face. And these parents will like yell at the coaches and the refs. It's ridiculous.
I was just telling a story earlier today. Like I coached my 8-year-old's basketball team, and we had a couple of kids on the team who were like really, really good. Now they also happened to be like Sikh, right? So they had like the long hair and everything, and obviously brown skin. So, they were exceptional players. Like, I mean, I've never seen 8-year-olds dribble between their legs and behind their back and hit a 3-pointer from 5 feet beyond the arc, but these kids were awesome. I would have other coaches and other parents walk up to me and say, you need to control your players. You can't play the twins at the same time. You need to make this fair. And I'm like, look, I'm all for competitiveness. I know how to handle my team. I don't need you to walk up to me before the game and tell me, oh, I don't want you to play your good players because my kid's good too, but he'll be overshown by these kids. Like, it's now if they're not passing or something like that, guess what? I'll handle that. I'm the coach. It's 8-year-olds. Calm down.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about this, Dutch? TV Cookie said she was frustrated and wanted her child to win. How is that bad sportsmanship? She didn't disparage anyone.
I mean, I was the one who said it, so I'll defend what I said.
Yeah.
She was wilding out over like somebody losing one wrestling match. Like, I don't know. Like, other people see that. Like, it's just, and I was being probably hyperbolic or whatever, but my God, the guy was like a 3-time like champion. He loses it. It just seems real. It just seems like she didn't even lose and she was being a sore loser, right? Like, she wasn't even the one who lost. And I don't know. It just seems bad.
No, I agree with you, Dave. I think if your child is playing a sport and loses and you break something, like, what kind of an example is that to your child?
Right.
And
or to younger
teammates.
kids, younger kids maybe who were there to watch the wrestling match. And we don't know I would imagine her son probably lost graciously. Otherwise we'd have heard about that too. Right.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, I have kids, they've played sports, they lose. Like, I've never broken anything. Like, people are disappointed in stuff and like really strongly disappointed in stuff all of the time. But if you break stuff, like, that's kind of an overreaction.
Yeah, I think that, look, there's no evidence that the player did anything, right? Like, that didn't go viral. So I'm sure that like this has nothing to do with him. What this has to do is with overreactive parents. It's perfectly fine to be upset. It's perfectly fine if you're to hug someone and cry. Breaking your glasses into 100 pieces and slamming it on the ground you're acting like a spoiled brat. And the bigger piece of this is, is that I hate to say this, but had this been a a woman of color, which we see all the time, it's just from almost nothing, going like, oh, like that. The reactions are greatly exaggerated, right? So it's always fair to point out that dichotomy when it comes to this. Nobody's saying she's a bad lady. Nobody's saying she's burning in hell. Nobody's saying that she should be barred from games. Nobody's saying any of that stuff. All we're saying is get a grip.
Yeah, get a hold of yourself, please.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Get a grip. It would have been a great achievement from your son, but did the three people that your son beat for the national championship the last 3 years, did they not love their kids because they didn't break their glasses?
Yeah. Well, and TV brings up it's her property. I don't think that like it matters. Yes, she shouldn't be breaking other stuff. But if she like smashed her phone or like, I don't know, ripped her shirt, like any of those are still, if you're breaking something, that's still an overreaction. Like
how many times do we see NBA players who get mad and kick a ball and they get, internet goes ablaze telling them that they shouldn't play their sport, right? Like it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think anybody's trying to say that like this is a bad person, but
no,
it's, again, keep your shirt on.
And like, did she need her glasses to drive? Like, did she drive home?
That's what, like, I'm blind without my glasses. And so I'm like, I've been like, oh no, well, I kind of did that to myself. I punished myself because now I'm stuck here.
Well, the good news is though, because Lindsay doesn't wear her glasses on stream, I look just like Channing Tatum. So,
you look amazing.
Like, I don't know. Like everybody I'm streaming with is just like gorgeous.
I'm indistinguishable from Channing Tatum to Lindsay. That's why she comes back every week, right? Like when she puts her glasses on and comes on stream, she'll mysteriously have a cough the next 6 to 8 weeks, which by the way is probably going to happen anyway.
Probably.
After she gets a load of what I have prepared for her.
I know.
Later.
See, I was hoping, I'm like, maybe if I'm just like a smidge late, you'll already do all the Bible stuff.
No.
I
saved all of it.
You saved it for me. Oh, yeah. Dutch, you shouldn't have.
I absolutely saved it for you. So hopefully this will work. StreamYard did an update recently. And I believe that the way I have it set up, you used to have to ask StreamYard to share the audio. Now I think it's telling you to deselect it if you don't want to share the audio. So you guys will have to let me know if you can hear the audio to this or not.
Oh my God, this is the best.
Did you hear this?
Oh yeah.
Can you
had
hear
like
it? Okay.
5 people send it to me, but I still love it.
But you can hear
I can only kind of hear it.
Okay,
yeah, it's pretty quiet.
Oh, it is pretty well. All right, let's see if we can amp up the volume here a little bit. Hold on. Let's try to amp up the volume.
Waves in opposition. I need a dick. He's an opponent. Waves in opposition.
Watch. Here's the best part. Watch the lady next to him when he says this.
Waves in opposition. I need a dick.
Look.
I know. She knows. She knows.
I think he knows too. He's just trying to hold it together. Critical support to this guy. Although this is Florida, so this guy might be a monster.
Here, and then there's another one. They give him another.
Yeah.
Waves in opposition. Holden Hiscock. It's also. Waves in opposition. Holden Hiscock.
The fact that he says it twice, he wasn't sure, so he really wanted to make sure.
It's like Bart Simpson was there.
It is. It was so good. We need to be doing that more. I don't see more butts, please.
See more butts.
Exactly.
I hadn't thought of the Anita. So I made one of these up years ago. It was Anita Moorhead. I thought I was being clever. Anita Dick is way
better.
Yeah, it's way better than what I came up
Way
with.
more
Anita
concise.
Moorhead. Yeah. It's I almost think that I feel embarrassed because I didn't come up with that. Like I just was like, oh well, Dick's too obvious. No, clearly not. I was clearly wrong. Because well, I don't know. I like to say that Representative Robinson W from Florida is a smart guy, but then again, it's a Republican Florida politician.
I was going to say, you can't assume that anymore.
No. Jesus loves titties. Oh, he probably does, but he loved Mary Magdalene's titties. Okay. So let me see how I can do this here. Let me move this tab to a new window and move it over here. All right, Lindsay, Dave. Dave and I have been buddies for since 2017. When he first came on my show. I'm going to get something pulled up here real quick, though. I want to. Lindsay was a little bit tardy to the show today, before she starts, we go into this. Lindsay, do you want to give us your quick update on anything in Idaho politics? I mean, I'm sure, or any adventures in Idaho that you've had over the last couple of days.
I go to the same orthodontist as a Nazi, so that was fun to find out.
Yeah, you sent me the text message from the dentist, and I'm like, "Are you safe?"
No, I'm not safe because he's actually somebody that I've done some TikToks about and have had a couple run-ins, and there's definitely some HIPAA violations at that orthodontist clinic that I can see who everybody else is, but he could probably see that I was there too. So I started texting people because I was like, if I die, like if he waits outside for me and attacks me, I need people to know who it was. But so I was just sitting there and I saw his name. So I took a picture and was sending it to a few people. And then I'm nosy. So I listened to the text. I guess he like ran out of the room, and the texts were like, he just must be so embarrassed that he has braces. And they're like, yeah, he hasn't been here for 3 months. He last came in December. That's because he was in prison and he just got out the day before.
Nice that he didn't lose his insurance while he was there.
I know, that's I mean, insurance doesn't cover braces. So he was probably making all those monthly payments and just finally showed up.
It doesn't cover anything.
Well, like mine covers a little bit. I don't know what job he would have. You can still just keep paying. Maybe it's on his wife. I don't know. But I was like, hey guys, just so you know, this person's out of prison. And we chose the same orthodontist. So anyways.
Well,
you're still muted.
You are in Idaho and there's only 2 orthodontists. So, I mean.
Yeah. And there's a lot more Nazis than orthodontists. So, I mean, it's bound to happen at some point.
How many Nazis are orthodontists?
They are probably not mutually exclusive in Idaho, that's for sure. So probably some. I don't think mine is, but I don't think he knows that. Maybe he knows he's taking care of Nazi teeth. I don't know.
Dave, are you aware of the just overrepresentation of white supremacists that are living near you in Idaho?
Not just Idaho, but the rural parts of Oregon and Washington. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Dave, are you near the readout?
The readout?
Oh,
that would be a no.
Okay. You would know.
Dave's in NorCal, right? So, but like, it's not that close. But
okay, it's the whole like part of like Oregon, Washington, Idaho that they're trying to make into a white ethno state. They call it the Redoubt.
Oh, that's sort of, it's not too dissimilar from the idea of like the state of Jefferson that they want to do.
Yes. Yeah. And like greater Idaho. Yeah. It's kind of like that.
Yeah. I'm not that far north. I'm in San Jose. So I'm like actually. Like in the middle of the state.
All right. You're doing great then. Okay. I was
well, I don't know.
Hey,
the cost of living here is something else, but.
Yeah. No, we know about that. Yes. Yeah, I was gonna say it's expensive to live in the Redoubt. Shockingly expensive.
Yeah. Well, go figure. It costs like $2 a year to live there. Anything else? Anything else happening in Idaho we should know about before I ruin your brain?
They just like always, there's always stuff. Hospitals are no longer so. A survey went out a couple months ago, and half of OBGYNs are moving out of the state of Idaho or working on moving out of the state of Idaho because of our strict abortion bans. And so they've all been leaving. So hospitals are stopping delivering babies. So they announced that in North Idaho, this one specific hospital will no longer be delivering babies. And it was the only hospital that was doing that. For like over a mile in each direction. And so they just
people
don't
just get a doula now or something? You know what a doula is? It's like it's like a baby birthing assistant for like home delivery.
Yeah. I mean, well, that is what the Republicans said, is they're like, just get a midwife, just use a doula. And we were like, so that, that doesn't just work for every situation. I love the idea of just, they're like, we don't need no stinking doctors. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, we're just like, the new Idaho motto is come for the scenery, leave because we force you to give birth in the forest. So
yeah, and
we're taking healthcare back to the 19th century.
Well, there and like this guy who was in the dentist office with you he's in jail for attacking healthcare workers, right? So
yeah, he absolutely beat the hell out of a nurse when he had COVID. That's why he was in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as a nurse, that makes me feel less safe.
Also, should be pointed out, the nurses, the hospital staff were able to use non-lethal force to restrain him.
Yes.
So isn't it astonishing?
Every day.
Isn't that astonishing?
We do that every day.
Yeah. How do
we actually have to like.
And cops.
I know we have to de-escalate, and then even when we do de-escalate, our managers ask us like, "Well, why did you what did you do to make that person hit you?" So it's a real like not messed up system at all. But we don't
him with them mRNAs.
So I have a question. Well, if there's nowhere to have your baby, how are you going to build your white ethno-state?
In a bathtub.
They're going for like this only the stronger survive. Like we're going full
eugenics.
Full eugenics in Idaho. Yeah.
Of course. Why not?
So there's going to be like 9 people left. You and like 8 other people are going to be left in Idaho.
Exactly. Like it is. It's like only the strong survive. And if you die in childbirth, it was the will of God. So we're leaning into that whole like will of God kind of a thing.
I wouldn't be here if I wasn't born in a hospital. It wasn't like wasn't a huge deal, but I was born with umbilical cord wrapped around my like neck.
Yeah. It's shocking how many people, as a NICU nurse, there's a lot of people who wouldn't be here without hospitals. So
yeah, all my other problems have nothing to do with my birth, but that's just the one.
Yeah, just the initial strangulation wasn't
it isn't what's wrong with me, I don't think now.
I don't think so. There's other issues. There's other reasons. We can find causality in a lot of other things other than that. All right, so Dave's got I believe about 15 minutes or so left with us for the day. So Dave might escape for the end of this. And by the way, if you're listening on the Dutch Jason channel, come over to Dig on America podcast, Dig on America _podcast on Twitch. Definitely follow EchoPlex Media, which is they are chatting in the chat there, so up above, so you can scroll up and click on it. I can't do shout outs from StreamYard, otherwise I would do one. But Dave, definitely go follow his show. So what we're gonna do now?
Oh, it doesn't work.
Torture these two atheists, and I'm going to play. So what I've been doing lately, I'm just going to preface this real quick, is I like to read the Bible, right? So I like to read it because I like to be able to challenge evangelicals in my inner circle. They're always telling me that the Bible's capitalist and all of these things. So I listen to audio though, right? Because I get tired when I read from a book. So this particular podcast I'm going to play about one chapter on, so I've timed it. It's about 6 minutes, and it might even be a little bit less than that. And I'm going to play this the same way that we would play a dig on America. So Lindsay and Dave are encouraged to say pause and comment on what they are hearing. This is astonishing. And earlier in the show, Lindsay missed this, but earlier in the show, we were talking about Jimmy Garoppolo and how he was offered sex by like 3 sex workers for life, for free, for joining the Las Vegas Raiders, right? I couldn't help but be reminded of that as we read Genesis 29 about Jacob and his descendants. It will be read by the lady hosting the podcast, and she does pause once in a while to say, think about how that affects you. I think this will be a lot of fun. I hope this becomes a thing. Although in order for it to become a thing, Lindsay has to not hate me, which is not guaranteed at all. Okay. So like,
I was going to say like,
it definitely not guaranteed. I have no idea how this is going to play out. But here we go.
With Genesis 29.
Now, are you able to hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
Jacob arrived.
Too much hearing.
Then Jacob hurried on, finally arriving in the land of the east. He saw a well in the distance. 3 flocks of sheep and goats lay in an open field beside it, waiting to be watered. But a heavy stone covered the mouth of the well. It was the custom there to wait for all the flocks to arrive before removing the stone and watering the animals. Afterward, the stone would be placed back over the mouth of the well. Jacob went over to the shepherds and asked, "Where are you from, my friends?" "We are from Haran," they answered. "Do you know a man there named Laban, the grandson of Nahor?"
LeBron James.
He asked. "Yes, we do," they replied. "Is he doing well?" Jacob asked. "Yes, he's well," they answered. "Look, here comes his daughter Rachel with the flock now." Jacob said, "Look, it's still broad daylight, too early to round up the animals. Why don't you water the sheep and goats so they can get back out to pasture?" "We can't water the animals until all the flocks have arrived," they replied. Then the shepherds moved the stone from them.
I'm going to pause this myself here real quick. Sounds a little bit like socialism.
A little bit.
I wonder how Jacob will honor the local customs.
Mouth of the well, and we water all the sheep and goats. Jacob was still talking with them when Rachel arrived with her father's flock, for she was a shepherd. And because Rachel was his cousin, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and because the sheep and goats belonged to his uncle Laban, Jacob went over to the well and moved the stone from its mouth and watered his uncle's flock. Then Jacob kissed Rachel, and he wept aloud. He explained to Rachel that he was her cousin on her father's side, the son of her aunt Rebekah. So Rachel quickly ran and told her father Laban. As soon as Laban heard that his nephew Jacob had arrived, he ran out to meet him. He embraced and kissed him and brought him home. When Jacob had told him his story, Laban exclaimed, "You really are my own flesh and blood."
Okay, wait, pause. Okay, so I just had like a Mormon moment where as this has been going on, I'm like, what the hell is going on? How do I not know? Like in my head, I'm like, Laban, what the hell? I've never heard that. Okay, so we have a character in the Book of Mormon called Laban, and it's spelled the same way, and we just call it Laban. I realized that was the same one. We're good. It's all coming together for me. So Mormon me had no idea who Laban was, but I can now I got it. We're good. I'm back on track.
I just want to point out here very briefly that you're going to see some shades of politics here. This first 2 minutes,
the cousin kissing.
Well, yeah, I have a feeling that might get worse, but the local custom is do not water your sheep until everyone's arrived, and the Bible justifies, it's my family, so fuck your rules. Which is really, he literally just got there and he's like, fuck your customs, fuck your rules. We're watering these sheep. It's like, so rules mean nothing, or do they? I'm
When
not
God
sure.
is on your side, you don't need rules.
As you will see here, because there's about 3 minutes left of this, and it's going to get very interesting.
Pause and reflect on this section. We see a beautiful reunion of family. Ask
This is the commentator.
yourself, how are
Oh my
these
God.
people reacting to seeing each other? What is the tone of this
They
passage?
kissed. It was weird.
What that might symbolize, and what the Lord might be communicating through wells and water as a symbol in the scriptures.
Water.
The next
Like,
section is Jacob.
Drink your water, ho.
The next section is Jacob marries Rachel.
And Rachel.
Yeah.
After Jacob had stayed with
Lindsay, I really want to focus on you right here. All right.
Oh, good.
I'm very interested in focusing on Lindsay's reaction to this. This should be, I think this is going to bring you back to Christ.
Oh, sure of it.
Laban said to him, "You shouldn't work for me without pay just because we are relatives."
Let me just pause there. You shouldn't work for me for free because we're relatives. Okay, that sounds fair.
Tell me how much your wages should be. Now Laban had 2 daughters. The older daughter was named Leah, and the younger one was Rachel. There was no sparkle in Leah's eyes, but Rachel had a beautiful figure and a lovely face. Since Jacob was in love with Rachel, he told her father, "I will work for you for 7 years if you'll give me Rachel, your younger daughter, as my wife." "Agreed," Laban replied. "I'd rather give it to you than to anyone else. Stay and work with me." So Jacob worked for 7 years to pay for Rachel, but his love for her was so strong that it seemed to him but a few days.
Okay, Lindsay, your reaction to there was no sparkle in Leah's eyes, but Rachel had a good figure and a beautiful face.
I
So
know.
Jacob
That's
fell in
okay.
love with
So
her.
I was raised on King James version where it's like she had weak eyes or some shit, or it was like
Yeah.
soft to the eyes, or I don't know how they said it. It was like, ancient Hebrew for ugly.
She's easy on the eyes.
No, Rachel
Oh,
was, but like
to
Leah, like
Leah.
she had soft eyes or something like that. And I'm always like, that was kind of it. This was definitely written by a man who didn't like Leah, and that's unfortunate because, like, how would you like? There's not very many women in the Bible anyway, and how would you like to be known as like the not cute one, the ugly one? Like, just
Yeah.
whatever. Leave Leah alone. She was probably awesome. Maybe Rachel was a bitch. We don't know. Like,
Oh, I have a feeling we're gonna find out.
Finally, the time came for him to marry her. "I have fulfilled my agreement," Jacob said to Laban. "Now give me my wife so I can sleep with her." So Laban invited
Just get right to it.
everyone in the neighborhood
of course
to
he did.
prepare a wedding feast. But that night, when it was dark, Laban took Leah to Jacob, and he slept with her. Laban had given Leah a servant, Zilpah, to be her maid. But when Jacob woke up in the morning, it was Leah. "What have you done to me?"
You gave me the ugly girl.
I mean, can we just talk about for 1 second? Like, so Jacob supposedly like loves Rachel, like loves her, adores her, and has known her for 7 years. So, like, you think in 7 years you'd like know somebody, kind of. But apparently not enough on your wedding night to like not realize that you're sleeping with Rachel.
It said earlier she had a beautiful figure, and Leah, it didn't talk about her figure, but it didn't say she also had a beautiful figure. So you can imply that she did not. Wouldn't you like be like, this doesn't feel right? How drunk was he?
Yeah, I was thinking alcohol.
Dave?
Yeah, I'm like, there was either a lot of drinking or like he was like, I'll deal with this in the morning. And then there in the morning he was like,
Feels too good right now. I'm not going to stop.
so that's what I'm saying is like Jacob acts like he was a victim here, but really? But really?
Well, we'll see how much of a victim he is.
Jacob raged at Laban. "I worked 7 years for Rachel. Why have you tricked me? It's not our custom here to marry off a younger daughter ahead of the firstborn. Laban replied,
Should have told me that 7 years
"Our
ago.
week is over, then we'll give you Rachel too, provided you promise to work another 7 years for me." So Jacob agreed to work 7 more years. A week after Jacob had married Leah, Laban gave him Rachel too. Laban gave Rachel a servant, Bilhah, to be her maid. So Jacob slept with Rachel too, and he loved her much more than Leah. He then stayed and worked for Laban the additional 7 years. So
Okay, I also want to know, like, okay, he worked 7 years initially, and these are Bible-y times. How old were these girls? Like when Jacob showed up, how old were they?
It makes it seem like they were like, you know, the Bible talks about them like they're still like 20.
Yeah, so were they like 12?
They had to be quite young because they had to still be of childbearing age.
I was gonna say, and then they end up having quite a few children. Well, I mean, one of them does. But they end up having quite a few kids. So like how old was Jacob and how old were they? These are the questions we need to be asking about this story.
Dave, any reaction thus far?
I mean, the story sounds fake. Sounds like it didn't happen, but it's just bad storytelling too. Like there's a lot of plot holes.
It gets way worse.
things as facts presented.
This is commentary.
Jacob has these 2 wives. He's been deceived, and he loves one of them, Rachel, much more than the other.
Sounds biblical.
How do you think that dynamic is going to play out in future chapters?
Probably not
The
well.
next section is Jacob's many children. When the Lord saw that Leah was unloved, he enabled her to have children, but Rachel could not conceive.
Is that how that works?
Then it gave
Yeah.
birth to a son.
Cool.
Sounds to me like Planned Parenthood.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
She named him Reuben, for she said, "The Lord has noticed my misery, and now my husband will love me." I also want you to compare the way the Lord noticed Leah and blessed her to the way he noticed Hagar when Hagar says, "The Lord is the one who sees me." Verse 33. She soon became pregnant again and gave birth to another son. She named him Simeon, for she said, "The Lord heard that I was unloved and has given me another son." Then she became pregnant a 3rd time and gave birth to another son.
For someone he doesn't love, he certainly does a lot of sex with her.
Yeah, he sure comes back. I don't know.
They didn't have TV back then.
They didn't have Twitch.
Twitch doesn't keep me from getting laid.
I should hope. It does a good job of that for me.
He was named Levi, for she said, "Surely this time my husband will feel affection for me."
He was named Levi, which means surely my husband will wear jeans.
Since I have given him 3 sons. Once again, Leah became pregnant and gave birth to another son.
It's 4.
She named him Judah, for she said, "Now I will praise the Lord." And then she stopped having children. That's the end of chapter 29, and we've seen Leah have children.
All right, I'm going to skip forward a little bit.
I can have a family too. So Rachel gave
Okay,
her
so here we go.
son.
All right. This is where things get really interesting.
Am I God?
Really Old Testament-y.
He's the one who, when Rachel saw that she wasn't having any children for Jacob, she became jealous of her sister. She pleaded with Jacob, "Give me children or I'll die." Then Jacob became furious with Rachel. "Am I God?" he asked. "He's the one who has kept you from having children." Then Rachel told him, "Take my maid, Bilhah, and sleep with her. She will bear children for me, and through her I can have a family too." So Rachel gave her servant Bilhah to Jacob as a wife, and he slept with her. Bilhah became pregnant and presented him with a son. Rachel named him Dan, for she said, "God has vindicated me. He has heard my request and given me a son." Then Bilhah became pregnant again and gave Jacob a 2nd son. Rachel named him Naphtali, for she said, "I have struggled hard with my sister, and I'm winning." Let's pause here because...
Yeah, let's pause here. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing this for a short time because I know Dave's got to go.
Yeah,
but here's
real quick. Thanks for having
Yeah.
me on. I got a dip. I have like 15 minutes before my show starts, and I'm
No worries, Dave.
not ready.
So
Thanks
good
for
to
having me
meet
on.
you,
It was
Dave.
good. It was good to meet you, Lindsay. Lindsay, maybe you come on and do bingo with us some night.
She'd be a lot more fun than having me on.
Absolutely.
Anyway, you guys
Yeah,
have
anytime. Let me know.
have a good rest of your show. You guys are both welcome to hop on tonight after your stream if you're not doing anything. Actually, just Jason has the link. You're both welcome to pop in. Just jump on like you own the place. You don't need to let me know. Thanks everybody. Thanks chat.
See you, Dave.
Good meeting everybody in chat. And I don't know. Come to my stream later to be terrified by people who drink their own urine. Good night.
Good night.
What?
So, they're probably watching some conspiracy stuff.
Okay.
What a closing comment.
That was a hell of a closer.
All right, so let me get this Bible verse straight. So here's the takeaways that I have so far. Fuck your rules. I'll do what I want. I can work 7 years for one wife. What that makes a woman relatively expensive, I guess. 7 years of one's life for. I mean, I guess if you're putting monetary value on it, I suppose.
I mean, like average person
have
makes
monetary
like
value, but
$50K. So like by 7, so like $350,000. Is that really a lot for a whole person?
I mean, compared to like a VCR, I guess, but like, you know,
Whoa, Dutch. Whoa.
But yeah, I mean, well, Jacob would say to Rachel, baby, you're worth, how long would he work for a VCR? 6 months. So baby, you're worth 14 times.
Tons of mice.
Oh, just the toes are cheap. Right. But it's so he sleeps with Leah. He doesn't love her, but continues to sleep with her and have kids with her while also sleeping with Rachel.
I mean, that sounds like a lot of America.
Well, and then he gets her maid and he gives her not one, but two. So like this all seems like a very good deal for him. You know,
I feel bad for the maids, to be honest.
Yeah, because they don't have a choice.
No, like they were given, like, no.
So I'm trying to figure out where the morals are here, because I was told that this was a book of morals.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out where those are.
Yeah. So the hard thing is like, it's a fun, like, make up your own morals as you go kind of a thing. Which is fun. That's modern Christians love that. Like, pick your own morals kind of a thing. That's their favorite.
But I thought in Genesis 1:28, I think. One man, one woman. I think I heard that before. I could have sworn that it was true.
Unless your father-in-law tricks you and then you get to sleep with like literally any woman in his household.
Two of your cousins and a slave.
Yeah, like kissing cousins. I mean, the South exemplifies that. The kissing cousins part, they got that. They were like Jacob and Rachel, also us.
Yeah. I'll paraphrase out the rest of the story. So then then Leah gets old. She can't have kids, so he gets her maid. And then she feels upset, so she has more kids. So now he's got 4 wives. 2 of which are his first cousin, and 2 of which are slaves. And eventually Leah has a daughter. And every time Leah has a child, she says, now he'll love me. So the sisters don't like each other. Because they're fighting over a husband. Goes to just real quick piece of advice. Never marry your sister's husband.
No, that's really good advice for Mormons, because like not necessarily always following that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the women listening to this show, and like this is really for you, Lindsay, because I know I just want to make sure that like you don't allow
this
like
is
your
real
sister to marry
personalized.
your husband. You know, I just in case it was something you were thinking about doing. You know, I know there's only like a 90% chance of that happening because you are still from Idaho. So you never know.
Yeah, no, that's legitimate. Like we're sinking back into the 19th century. So like, who knows what's going to happen next?
There's also a funny story later about a servant boy, which they don't get too explicit about, but that's Jacob likely gay, and then he like the Nibor or Laban, whatever his name is, he screws Jacob over. Laban, yeah, he screws Jacob over, and like takes all of his sheep and gives them to like there's this whole corrupt businessman part.
Well, and Rachel steals his idols, except for they're only supposed to be worshiping Yahweh.
Yeah, that part is fascinating because they leave the house, they steal all of his shit, right? And then he comes after him. Laban comes after them. He catches Jacob, who left in the middle of the night, stealing all of his stuff, including these idols. And then they catch them and they're like, what the fuck you chasing me for? Well, you stole all my shit. Yeah, but you screwed me. And that's true. So they're screwing each other. And then he's screwing both of his daughters. And then he's like, let me see if I can find those idols and I'll kill whoever has them. Because those I didn't allow. Jacob says, I stole all your stuff. And this is literally the moral. No, I stole all your stuff. But if somebody stole something and I didn't know that they stole, and I didn't tell me that they were stealing it, you can kill that person.
Yeah.
Turned out that was who?
It was Rachel, though, who was like, oopsie doopsie, I'm on my period, so I can't move. Because if I stand up, my uterus will fall out. And they were like, that's legit.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, yeah, don't stand up. Because this is your dirty time.
Can't have that right now.
Because as you know, when you're unclean and you touch an unclean woman, you have to like bathe in
turn into salt. That's what the Bible told me.
Bathe in the waters of, below the city of Mandalore in Star Wars or something like that, the sacred waters.
All your midichlorians starve to death.
Yes. You'll lose all your Jedi powers if you touch a woman.
Yeah.
But then they don't find it. So it's okay. But why do you need these idols? Clearly she's worshiping those too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and they did like the whole witchcraft with the like speckled lamb shit where it was like, give them the sticks and then they'll turn into speckled and unclean and whatever. So like they're doing like superstitious nonsense. They're like worshiping idols. They're stealing stuff and lying to each other. But these are like the prophets, like the patriarchs, the people we're supposed to uphold as like an example of.
Tons of mice says it's Jacob and Rachel were on a break. I think you're reading about Ross and Rachel, not Jacob and Rachel. Ross and Rachel were on a break. Jacob and Rachel not on a break. Okay,
maybe they were on a break. We don't know. Wait,
were Jacob and Rachel at Central Perk?
Maybe. Maybe they were on a break. They were separated a little bit, like it wasn't really working, and
what if
technically she was still a child?
What if Friends was the Bible though? Would Ross
like
have
kind
also
of slightly more moral than the actual Bible?
Until he got with Monica, but he would have.
Yeah,
because that was his sister, right? So of course he'd have to,
like just like on the side because God told him to.
Yeah, and Joey and Chandler are totally into each other, but they don't talk about it. We know it's happening, but it happens in off screen. But
so, yeah, no, all of that is absolutely accurate. So
socialism good, theft good, corporate greed good, sleeping with family members good, sleeping with slaves good.
Socialism wasn't even good because Jacob was like, fuck that shit. Like Jesus has my back and I'm saying I'm not having any of your socialism. I water my cousin's sheep because nepotism and I'm going to marry her. She's a child. And everybody's like, we need to be teaching this to children as young as possible.
That's a fair point because they were very socialist before Jacob got there. And then Joseph made them more like, I wouldn't say capitalist, but like screw the rules. But then Laban,
but like only for his friends and it was like very nepotism.
That sounds like our government.
Very crony capitalism.
Yes,
which is Jesus's favorite capitalism.
It's a trust.
Yeah.
But then
those Nepo
Nabor,
babies.
or I keep wanting to call him Nabor because that was his dad, Nabor the Submariner. So this is all in Marvel. But then Laban is like very crooked. Like there's no doubt that he's crooked, but he's the business owner, so it's all like everybody puts up with it.
Yeah, it's like it's fine because he's got money. So like that's the American moral of the story is like if you have money, you can screw people and it's still like kind of okay.
But
and
they said
allow
clearly
it.
that he was deceptive and that it was bad and that because he screwed Jacob over. Like so
Well,
it's very anti
But
corporate. Greed.
let's go back a generation, but like only kind of because let's go back a generation where like Jacob lied to his dad
To get his blessing.
So like, and his mom did too. And the Bible is like, that's right. Sometimes you lie to get stuff from your rich parents.
Yeah,
and then you marry your cousin who is a child.
And then you sleep with your cousin's slave.
Well, yeah. Just for like, because they're fighting. Like when you're fighting, you sleep with your cousin's slave.
This all would be like on Jerry Springer today.
Yeah.
It would be the most complex episode of Springer of all time.
Yeah. And like Leah'd be over there and she'd be like, I just keep having babies so he'll love me. And they'll be like, that's kind of toxic. And like having more kids, bringing more kids into a toxic situation doesn't make it better. And Jacob would be like, I don't care about women. And they'd be like, I know. Like, we got that. That was pretty.
In 15.
That was pretty apparent.
Is it any wonder why we didn't learn this particular set of verses in Bibles in Sunday school?
Oh, these are like the only ones Mormons use. But
are you serious?
Yeah. Okay. But no, I have to tell you why. Okay. Because Mormons use it to like, just like the Bible is like, all of this stuff happened and that justifies where we are today and why these people are good and these people are bad. Mormons use it in the exact same way. These were the only Bible stories I knew. Like New Testament.
Are you kidding?
We don't really care. Anything after Genesis, didn't really learn that shit. Genesis is like it. Because in a lot of ways, the Book of Mormon is like the Old Testament in that, like, if you sin a little bit, like, you're done. God is like, just kill them. Kill the babies, kill the pregnant women. Like, there's whole scriptures where it's like, Jesus, after he supposedly resurrected, was like, murder the pregnant people. And it's like, yeah, we're supposed to cheer for that. So it's very Old Testament-y in a weird, that's why we don't focus on the New Testament very much, because it'd be like, wait a second, I thought Jesus was like the chill one. But so like we read all of this and learn all this whole story and how people are lying. And one time I brought up, I was like, but didn't Jacob lie? And they're like, we can't say that about the patriarchs. And I was like, okay. But so we learn all of this because Rachel's two children, Ephraim and Manasseh, we learn all of this because in Mormondom, Ephraim and Manasseh are blessed because they are Rachel's sons and she was favored because she was hot. So
of course.
Yeah, no, Jesus is like, who's the hot one though? We favor her sons. Jesus is no respecter of persons unless you've got that sick body and then your children are favored.
So Jesus favors Nicki Minaj.
Absolutely. Megan the Stallion, he took a little more time on her. Any kid she has, absolute, like maybe they are the second coming of Jesus. Because have you seen her?
Have you seen her?
But so anyway, so Rachel's children, Ephraim and Manasseh, they are the chosen and covenant ones that God made the covenant with to establish his church again in the last days because their mom was hot. And so like all the Mormons, you get a patriarchal blessing and they tell you like, you're the house of Ephraim, you're the house of Manasseh, which means you come from the hot mom, which is really actually a big thing in polygamy. Like, were you the favored wife? Was your great-great-grandma the favored wife? So it all kind of like plays together in a really sick way.
That I've known, right? But is it? I
Yeah.
didn't realize it was like, I didn't realize it was had anything to do with how they looked. I thought it was like the order. Like the first one was always the best, right?
Well,
Or is
like
that not-
first wife can set the rules, but do you come from the favored wife? Because if you didn't, she was probably stuck in Tooele starving to death. So like you want to come from like the favorite wife, who was probably the hot wife. Yeah, the young hot wife. And so it's kind of a weird twisted thing, because in Mormonism, like the only wife you'll know about in a whole like polygamous family is like the hot one that the husband left. And so you want to come from that wife.
By the way,
but-
let's not confuse. The Bible confuses the word love with wants to fuck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. Like, it doesn't
Lust.
matter. It's just all about like repopulating, replenishing the earth. So like, did the husband want to replenish the earth with your great great grandma, or like less replenishing or more replenishing? But so Mormonism kind of twists that too, where it's like Rachel was the hot one, so her sons got the special covenant to get to bring back like the priesthood and the covenants to the earth. And so you get your patriarchal blessing and you're like, woo, I come from Ephraim. Like, we get this special covenant because Rachel was hot. So anyway, that's how Mormons justify it. And that's the only reason, like, we focus on that part of the Bible more than anything, so that then at the end of the story, we can be like, Ephraim and Manasseh got the covenant because Rachel was hot and Jacob loved her. So
is it any wonder when I get confused? Like,
yeah, no.
53. I'm at TBH Cookies. There you go. This is for you. Go ahead,
Oh,
Lindsay.
do you want me to read it?
Yes, if you would, please.
Yeah. So TB Cookie said, imagine creating a person, supplying them with a certain set of psychological dispositions, and then blaming or punishing them for acting in accordance with those dispositions, which might be sinful. That's what I was taught my whole life. I was too loud and sinful, and I can imagine, because I did that and it was not great. I wasn't meek. I wasn't like, it was like, they were like, why do you're not very like feminine, or like you're too loud. So anyway, it's less pleasant.
Yeah. So like, I'm trying to figure out, I try to figure out a lot of times when I talk to evangelical, including my folks, right? And again, I love my folks to death, but like I had a conversation with them the other day, and we got to kind of arguing about abortion, right? And I'm like, look, I'm not trying to flip you on this. Like, I just want you to kind of understand. And because they brought it up and then told me I brought it up, but however that works.
Your evangelical Christian parents are gaslighting you? Shocker.
Yeah, exactly. But where was I going with that? Oh, so I'm bringing up like different stuff from the Bible, and then I'm like, so I bring up Numbers, and I'm like, how do you reconcile this with all the stuff that you said? Like with the unpleasant dirt from the ground being mixed into an unpleasant potion, and if the woman miscarries, then so be it. And my mom literally said to me, yeah, I know about that, and I'm not happy about it. And I'm like, so and then she says, and don't get me wrong, I love this woman, she's one of my favorite people in the world, right? I would give my life for her. But she said to me, I really don't want to talk about that. I'm like, you don't get to do that.
No, but that's their favorite part. Cherry picking, like only the parts they like. Like, I bet she wears a cotton poly outfit, but gay people are the ones who are sinning.
Well, and there's ambiguity with that too, because like it says that two different places in the Bible, and when one place it says cotton and wool, and in the other place it says any two cloths.
Yeah. Or
So
braids. Did she ever braid her hair? Absolutely sinful behavior.
yeah, pigtails.
Yeah.
Technically any hair that crosses another is a de facto braid. But like
Yeah.
it's like, why? I don't understand why people get so hung up on this. Like I've told people before, fine, then just let's get rid of the Old Testament altogether. Like, can't you just? And there are some denominations that have kind of tried to do that, but they're not really mainstream. Where I would say that the vast majority, 90-something% of the denominations out there still say no, we need the Old Testament. Like, we totally need that. It's still the words of God. And they'll be like, but it all doesn't mean anything because of Jesus. But then, oh no, about the gay, but except the one verse about gay people being an abomination, that one we have to keep.
Yeah.
So in order to keep that, I have to keep and that one man, one woman. So, which it doesn't say, by the way. But we need to keep those two. So everything.
Yeah, no, Dutch. They can't get rid of that. That's their favorite part. Like New Testament Jesus, they use like occasionally for like those warm fuzzies. But like Old Testament God, who's going to just smite your enemies and like everybody you don't like are an abomination. And maybe he'll, make sure they don't exist anymore. That's their favorite part. They don't want to get rid of that. That's the reason they go to church, is so they can feel good and hopefully God will smite their enemies. That's their favorite. They're not getting rid of that. What's the point? What's the point of being a Christian if you don't get to believe that your God is going to smite everybody that you don't like?
I think you've caught the eye of flow state. I'm
not acknowledging that.
But where was I going to go before I got distracted? I don't even know. Oh, Judges, one of my favorites. What are you doing today? We've been really sinful lately. We turned away from God. Let's go wipe out this entire camp of 10,000 people. Then they do it and suddenly again are blessed. And then they wipe out another camp and they're even more blessed. And then they live a few years in peace. It never tells you how the people sinned against God, but then the Israelites again sin again, or the Hebrews sin against God again. And then again, their path to redemption is to go into a city and wipe it out. But they use the word smote in order to deflect it away and say, well, there was some reason why God needed that.
Yeah.
Particular, like it's.
They were like the sinniest.
It's gaslighting.
Sinners. Yeah.
Revisionist history. One of them had there's that one story in the end of Judges where the guy, one of my favorite stories in the Bible, by the way, just a really, really heartwarming tale, where a guy marries a concubine, brings it to goes to visit the concubine's dad. He doesn't.
Oh my God, is this where they cut her up?
Yeah, and then they go and they, he takes her. They go to the city. And he's like, no, I don't want to stay at any city unless there's Israelites there because I don't trust non-Israelites. So they finally found a city that's Israelites. An old man lets them stay at his house. Good for the old man. But then everybody wants these Israelites that he wanted to live by because he's into nepotism. He's a xenophobic and he's also probably nepotism, but he's xenophobic. So he's like, oh no, I got to stay here with these people because these are people I trust. Now they want to rape me. So they're like, here, take the concubine. Oh, and by the way, my virgin daughter as well. Have your way with them, but don't touch my boy. So then they
happens. I feel like that's just a repeat. I feel like the author was like, what happened with Lot? We'll just say that happened again.
I think they're retelling the same stories in some points, but then they kill this lady. And she's grabbing the book describes it as she's clawing the door trying to get back in. And they're in there doing what? Hanging out, playing pinochle, playing Yahtzee, watching the game on ESPN. And
Dutch, we didn't really talk about the stories as a Mormon, so I only kind of know it. So this graphic detail is just great. Thank you.
Yeah. And so she's trying to get in. He gets up the next morning, opens the door, sees her there, frozen against the door, dead. Doesn't realize she's dead, and literally says, "Get up, time to go." And then he's kicking her. Oh, I guess she's dead. How dare you kill her? So he puts her on his horse, goes back home, cuts her up into 12 pieces, and sends her body parts to all of his tribesmen. And then they go to revenge the town by wiping out the entire town because a couple people did that. I'm like, huh? But
that's a hell of a story.
And like,
I'm glad we're reading that. I'm glad we're like making sure children as young as possible read this book.
Yeah, I mean, I'm that's what my whole case right now of these days is.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to like write a children's book. In fact, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to write a children's book. I'm going to attribute the book to Matt Walsh. I'm going to call it Johnny the Walrus Part 2. It's going to be basically this story, and Florida's going to ban it. And then I'll be like, well, how dare you ban the Bible?
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll be like, well, wait, hold on. That is that. Oh, okay. Well, I guess there's no women pretending to be men. So, okay, you can have that book. It's fine. You know, it's like, I'm trying to figure out where the morals are.
Well, so you're trying too hard then, because it's just all relative. They're pulling the book Ferdinand the Bull from schools in Idaho because they think it like effeminizes boys, that he didn't want to be violent. And so, you know, the one where the bull just wants to like smell flowers and not fight people. So they're pulling that one, and they're trying to shut down the entire library because of the book Sex is a Funny Word and It Isn't the Stork, like 2 books about puberty. So they're trying to shut down, like completely dissolve the library district in the town that I live in. And it isn't not going to happen. But they still like, but the Bible, they're like, no, that's really good. We really want our children to read that and learn morals from it and use it as like a guide for their life.
Yeah, so. I mean, that's what they should do. Is they should just it's totally possible to cherry pick the Bible and make like a really nice book of sayings, right? It would probably, you could pick like, you know, Romans 3:23 and like maybe 10 or 15 other verses and say, here, these are cool. We can have these. You know, generally speaking, it says treat people nice and don't be an asshole. But to get to boil down those like maybe 2 pages of good content, you have to go through and like, have you ever read Revelation? I mean,
no, actually, I really haven't. I was raised Mormon. Flow State, how did all your family become Mormon? What was going on?
Yeah, that is crazy. I was just reading that comment.
That is unfortunate. Thoughts and prayers, sir.
Oh, I don't know. I just felt like as I was listening to this the other day, I'm like, I don't know how well Lindsay knows this story, but this is just one of those, it's like a Lindsay reaction video. And like, this is not even the only time. Like Abram goes through basically a very similar ordeal. You know,
yeah, I was gonna say, it's just like they kind of repeated. Well, again, those are like the only ones I learned, so we could get to like hot mom has the kids who get the covenant. So
wait, hold on. I have a very important question for you.
Oh,
is this considered soft swinging at all?
No, this is like God sanctioned, like absolute, you know,
hard swinging.
Yeah, like God was like, no, get in there. You need to be having babies. Like, this was not soaking, Dutch. This was legit.
How tied to lots of good content from the stories in the book of Revelation. Oh my God. How tied to the pro-life movement is this idea? Are these ideas? Because it's like they're trying to grow a nation at the time. And I don't believe any of these things are literally true. But like, I guess the idea is, well, they're building the nation of Israel, right? And like, don't get me wrong, I love Jewish people. Jewish people go through a lot of bullshit today. They're treated horribly. Anti-Semitism is a fucking real thing. We see it every single day. But we never talk about the fact that evangelicals literally want to turn Israel back to a Christian nation so that they can only 1/3 of Jews can survive and the rest can be slaughtered in a war that they watch from above as it takes place because it sounds fun. But anyway,
but like Dutch, oh, sorry. Were you sorry?
No. I'm just my brain is hurting.
No, well, that's because you're trying to like reason a position that is unreasonable. You shouldn't do that. That doesn't work.
How do we have 80 million Christians in this country, though? I don't.
I mean, like it's just easier to go with the flow sometimes. So like no, but like I grew up very, very like pro-life family, like no more like abortion under any circumstances is wrong. But then we'd read the Book of Mormon, which is very similar to the Bible in like it'd be like God would destroy an entire city. And the verse would be like, the pregnant women were slaughtered. The babies were slaughtered. Like it got really graphic. Like there's one scene where they're like, they specifically chased the pregnant women because they couldn't run very fast because bitch was pregnant. And like super violent. And so I'd be like, okay, wait, why would God let like these pregnant women and these children just be absolutely slaughtered? And my super pro-life dad, who to this day is like hella fucking pro-life, he'd be like, well, they were probably going to sin at some point anyway, so God just spared them from that. Like it was actually a super mercy. But if I were to say the same thing about an abortion, I'm like an evil, evil person. But they just, so they're not pro-life because on the flimsiest of justifications, they can be like, yeah, God can just absolutely destroy anybody. And it's super okay.
Well,
But
that's
if you
what they
get
want
an
us to do to
abortion at
Iran.
6 weeks, if you get an abortion at 6 weeks because your boyfriend's abusive, you're an awful murderer.
Yeah, and by the way, to Flow State's comment, he goes, okay, let's hear it, Kanye. It did sound like I was going, like anytime, generally speaking, anytime that you hear anyone say, I love black people, but
I was Dutch. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, I don't know how to pull this back. You like,
no, but like the reason why I preface that is because like it is very difficult today to, the whole anti-Semitic thing. It's hard to know sometimes like what someone's going to get upset about because like I can mock Israelites in the Bible. That's got nothing to do with anti-Semitism today. Right. So, I'm mocking these stories. Yes, they're absurd. They're absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah.
To think that a group of people can go out and smote another group of people over, I feel like having that land, like if that, of course, America did that, but nowadays, like we see that anytime that there's a hint of that happening by any non-capitalist country in this world, then we go right. We're all like, oh, we're all against it. Like, let's stop Saddam Hussein. But it's, there has to be a way. And it's the same here. Same thing with this. There are a lot of people who are generally, by the way, either on the right or the centrist right or the centrist left. Or I'm sorry, the far right or the centrist left. Far right or middle right people don't really get too into this. The further right people and the centrist left people think that you can't criticize Israel. I'm sorry, center right and center left people. The far right people
I'm sorry,
will do whatever they want. So even Mikey and I were talking about this a while back. If you are critical of Israel, the Israeli government, there is a contingent of people in this country who will start telling you that you're anti-Semitic.
Oh, not a small one. Yeah.
For criticizing a right-wing government. They'll be like, well, you just hate Jewish people. And it's like, wait a minute. So I try to tread lightly on this and preface my statements because I despise Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yeah.
That's got nothing to do with
his religion or culture or anything.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
Right. That has to do with he's an authoritarian, right-wing, end of times, ushering in money-hungry asshole. Because all he wants is to get funding from the United States so that he can apartheid Palestinians. And it's like
TV cookies. Yeah.
It's so none of that is anti-Semitic because it's got nothing to do with the people underneath him. But there are people who will be like, oh no, you're just a fucking anti-Semite. Why don't you just admit it? And you're like, okay, why did we even bother? It's of course a way to shut me up and get around the conversation.
Yes, yeah,
You
to not
know?
have to deal with the uncomfortable apartheid state that is that country. Yeah, no, absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
it's
Flow
I don't know.
state. No, my family was like poor. Like the Christmas family, like where everyone's like, we should donate to them because they're basically homeless. That was my family. So no, not all Mormons are rich. Sometimes they're homeless.
Yeah, I don't know. And just on the BLM comment, let me close that book real quick. There's a difference with criticizing BLM, like the global political action group, and say and refusal to say Black Lives Matter as a statement. Like, I don't have to agree with every single position that the Black Lives Matter global organization has. They're a political action committee. I get to, or not a really political action committee, but
Yeah,
they're
they're
a political action group, right? And they can have a policy that I don't agree with, and it's perfectly okay to say, hey, you know what, I don't agree with this policy. Most people who criticize BLM, though, the organization, are criticizing it based on straw men that don't really exist, like saying they don't believe in, they want to destroy the nuclear family. That's not what they say.
Yeah.
They don't say that at all. They just say that, hey, we shouldn't only hold up nuclear families. We should hold up all families, including single parent homes, etc., as equal in this community. And they misread that and they say, oh, well, they hate the nuclear family, right? So those are completely fallacies, but also different from saying, oh, no, all lives matter, or making up blue lives matter or some other shit to just because you don't like the identity politics. Those are super fucking different things.
Yeah. Nope, I agree.
So like people in San Francisco, I know a few people in San Francisco who are like, I'm not going to be a 49ers fan anymore because Levi's Stadium is flying a Black Lives Matter flag and I don't support that organization. And I would say to them, okay, well then you shouldn't have anything to be upset about because they're flying the black and white Black Lives Matter flag. The Black Lives Matter flag for the organization is yellow with 3 black stripes. So literally not the organization's flag, just a flag of a statement. Oh no, I'm still gonna oppose it. Okay, well then you're fucking racist. It's like, pick your poison. But anyway, back to the more pleasant topic.
Back to the Bible.
But yeah, like, so it's the real issue that we have in this country right now is that, I don't know about you, but it just seems to me that like the people who are religious in this country are getting more and more Old Testament-y.
Oh yeah. You want to talk about that in
overall.
the readout?
Yeah, you're the expert, not me.
Damn straight. No, I agree. Like, it's there, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Like, yes, I'm going to preface it because I know somebody's going to jump on the chat and be like, not all Christians. I'm not saying all Christians. There are Christians who are just fine. Like, they're just like, hey, this religion's good for me, and I like being a Christian, and I believe it, and that's it. And like, I'm just doing my own thing. You do your thing, and I don't care. So I'm just going to throw that out there. So when somebody gets on the chat and says, I can be like, refer to 5 minutes ago. Saying that though, the groups in my community that are saying that, like, openly advocating for the deaths of LGBTQ people, have fought to stop any healthcare for trans kids in this state and are winning, are trying to shut down libraries and are like doing all of these terrible things, advocating for this insanity, are Christian, and they wear the banner of Christianity as like a moral shield for what they're doing. And they're using it as a weapon to be like, I'm Christian, so I'm moral, so anything I say is wrong and immoral, and they're terrible people. And that's absolutely what they're doing. And you're correct. They're acting very Old Testament-y, where
and
they're
that's
talking.
Not how it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, no, and that's it. Even I've lived in Idaho for like 23 years now. And it wasn't like this 15 years ago. It just wasn't. It was, everybody was still conservative, but it's kind of like, do whatever you want and just like, don't bother me.
Freedom, taxes,
Yeah.
guns. You know, pro-life was always there.
Yeah,
least
exactly.
since- ever
Yeah,
since
but
the
it was
80s.
but it was still like, maybe there are reasons like health and like it's gone from maybe there should be reasons for like health or life of the pregnant person to it's just the will of God if you die. Like you should have
Yeah.
chosen to not be born a woman then if you didn't want to die in childbirth. And so that's the problem is it's used as a weapon. I'm sorry, I do have to address this. Flow state, like I don't know if you're trying to troll or what.
Oh, he is.
My oldest child is trans. And it's not about an agenda. It's not about anything. There are trans
Right.
kids and they
Exist.
deserve to have access to mental health care. They deserve to have access to health care and they deserve to be affirmed in their gender identity. And it doesn't hurt anyone. It's not harming anyone. It's not hurting anyone. And suicide and mental health issues go down dramatically and stay down dramatically when their gender identity is affirmed and when they have access to healthcare.
Mhm.
And when that healthcare is guided by their healthcare professionals, their parents, and themselves, and it's not part of an agenda. There's no, my agenda is I want my kid to be happy. I want my
Yeah.
child to grow up. I want them to have a happy life. My agenda is I want my child to be an adult. That's my agenda.
And it's this is one of the more effective fear-mongering campaigns that the right wing has come up with because it like there was a guy at work the other day who's a super nice dude from Tennessee. You know, we were just talking politics and like he agreed with me on 80% of what we were talking about. Like, I don't know why we were talking about this at work, but like he was going through some shit. And then like, he's like, I just can't get on board with this agenda against, you know, like saying boys are girls and girls are boys and all, and the bathrooms and all this shit. And I'm like, well, you've been sold a fucking bill of goods because like, if you don't I've been telling people this a lot. There's this thing called Twitch and a lot of people are watching this on Twitch. Some people don't like Twitch and that's fine. But like, there's a really strong contingent of trans people who I've become friends with in the last 4 months of doing Twitch who, you know, they're pretty unison on what their agenda is. I exist. Stop telling me that I don't. Is like really the main part of it. You know what I mean? Like it should not affect someone's life at all. If you go to Home Depot and the individual behind the counter is a biological born male who likes to wear their hair purple and wear eyeliner, and you want that, and you're going to let that trigger you to the point where Home Depot has to tell that individual that they may not dress the way that they like in public. Like it's and 90% of the time, these same individuals who are making these claims and blowing things out of proportion because they're different are the same people who are benefiting from the last generation of people who overcame norms, such as, I don't know, men having long hair, having tattoos, women wearing jeans, you know, all of these things.
Fighting against the draft, all of these things. Yeah.
All of these things used to be social taboo.
Yeah.
Like you could not go to a grocery store in the 1950s and see a woman wearing sweatpants.
Yeah. Or having a bank account or not getting beat by her husband.
Yeah.
Those were all social norms.
When I started working at Verizon in 2012, you had to wear, and this changed while I was there, actually, you could not have exposed tattoos. And then by the time I left a year or so later, you could show your tattoos. It was because people said, no, fuck you. This is my identity. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't hurt anyone else. And if the customer is triggered by now, yes, you shouldn't have a tattoo that says, you know, kill the ends or, you know, I want to, you know, like swear words. I can understand. Like I can understand, like, you know, or I love AT&T. Like, obviously, if you're working at Verizon, you probably should cover up your I love AT&T tattoo. If that was one that you chose to get, like, I'll sign that waiver. Okay. But like, these are like super extremes. you know, but like, it was because people were like, hey, this doesn't matter. You know, there are no parents saying, oh, I'm going to put my kid on hormones because I believe they're trans. This is happening because when it does happen, which is extraordinarily rare, like 11 cases or something like that in the last year. And it's because after a long amount of time, parents are like, okay, well, this is something that is causing depression in my kid. How about we do something to take care of it? Because this is a real problem that is real and existent in this person's life.
Yeah.
And medical science has backed it up and said, yes, this is a thing. And they were wrong when they diagnosed homosexuality in the statistical manual in the 70s. And they were wrong when they diagnosed trans as a, I think it was a cognitive disorder or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was. And they've come back and they said, oh, after more research, we are incorrect.
Yeah.
Not because they're part of the deep state. You know,
because they're constantly reevaluating. That's how medicine works. That's how science works, is you constantly reevaluate. Flo said this isn't a difference of opinion. We aren't talking about a progressive versus flat tax. This is about like actual, my child really exists. My child is really trans. That's not an opinion. And my child's access to healthcare shouldn't be a matter of opinion. And so that's kind of the thing, is like, this isn't an agenda. This isn't something where I wanted them to be something. This is exactly what Dutch said. They came out to me and my husband. They said, this is a problem. You start counseling. You start talking to doctors. You start reading books with them, finding out what's going on. And then you work with professionals to find out what is the best treatment. And it's very, very individualized. So their care doesn't look like any other trans person's care.
Mm-hmm.
And where you want to say that they're too young to think about this, I'm sorry, that's horse shit. Because the thing that triggers gender dysphoria is puberty. And so then the issue is, it becomes an issue at age 11, at age 12, when their body begins to develop secondary sexual characteristics. And they go, this isn't who I am. This isn't who I am. And so these secondary characteristics make me want to disassociate myself from my body. I don't feel like I belong in this body. And so I need to do something so I feel like I am in the right body. Because imagine if you just started menstruating, Flo State, and you're like, what the hell is happening? This isn't me. This isn't my body. This isn't what I'm okay with. And so they don't have the luxury of feeling comfortable in their bodies. Yeah, you had the luxury of just being interested in X-Men or Spider-Man or whatever it is that you were interested in, because you were fine in your body. So puberty wasn't a major crisis in your life. And this whole idea where children don't think about, like, did y'all forget that once you hit puberty and all you could think about was the people you were attracted to? Like, you're going to tell me you did not have an attraction to someone, you didn't look at porn, you didn't nothing until the day you turned 18? Horse shit. You absolutely did. Everybody did. Everybody had crushes. Everybody, unless they were like asexual, as children. But we want to act like nothing, that never happens. That nobody has a crush, nobody has a preference, nobody has any inkling of their sexuality until the day they're 18. And that's just not real. That's not dealing in reality.
Yeah. And you're building a straw man, bro. Like, so like it's, and here's the thing. Three things. Number one, go talk to a trans person. Number two, I've talked to trans people, and like, I don't sit here and pretend. I've said this a lot of times. I don't understand all of it. All I understand is a human being is telling me they feel a certain way. When people tell you things, believe them. When someone tells you how they feel about something, you should believe them. Right. And if they're telling me, hey, I just want to exist and like be myself, and that's like really it. It doesn't impact your life at all. Why are we worried about it? There is no agenda to turn little boys into little girls. the right will have us think that little Johnny got cut from the junior high basketball team and then says, well, you know what? I'm just going to go be a girl then, because I'll dominate the girls team. That doesn't happen. What a lot of my new trans friends have told me in my quest to understand it, right? Because I admit I don't understand it, is, and one of the most profound things that two people have said to me, Amber and Tofu, they both said the exact same thing. I didn't ask for this. It's the most it's the most excruciating thing in my life. I wish every day that I was born that I didn't have to go through this and I was born differently, but I wasn't, and I just want to exist. The idea that someone is going to have a weird dream and then all of a sudden say, you know what, it would be a really solid idea for me to join the most oppressed group in America right now, is just like, yeah, I really want to be oppressed so bad that I'm going to just go join that group because I love being a fucking victim, is fucking astonishing to me that people buy that narrative.
Or teens, as young teens, they're like, you know what I would like to do is like amp up the difficulty level to 1,000,000 because I already don't feel awkward and weird. Like your whole argument that puberty's hard, but you're not trans. Like I was a tomboy and puberty was weird, but I wasn't trans. I never felt like it wasn't right. I was loud, I was playing sports, I was a tomboy, I was doing all of the things. I was still a girl. That was never an issue. So all this whole, like, I've seen so many conservatives who are like, I was a tomboy, so they would have said I was trans. Absolutely not. Because I was a tomboy and I see what my child is going through, and it's not the same. It is not the same at all. And so you can say you talk to trans people and you can have an opinion. Nobody's saying you can't. I'm saying your opinion is misguided and saying it has actual consequences. So for you to be like,
you're being too nice. That's not your opinion, bro. With all due respect, that's someone else's opinion that they told you should have.
Yeah, and you like it because
do your own research.
It reinforces how you feel, and that's, it's just so like that opinion, just being like, I just have an opinion. It has real consequences for my family. This isn't theoretical. This isn't something that you just get to turn this like feed off and go to bed and not think about it again. This is my life every day. This is my child's life every day.
That would be certainly a better choice though than to like try to pretend that, try to fight against it. You know what I mean? Like that.
I know. I should like. Why am I
a better choice? Human beings have the right to exist. Like, who gives a fuck? It doesn't impact your life. Like that. Yeah. Like there was a. Just let me spit this out real quick before I forget.
Yeah, go for it.
There was a thing I texted you about. We talked about this on the show before. Like there was a thing I texted you about at a Kaiser in Bakersfield 8-9 months ago, where like people are outside protesting a gender neutral bathroom.
Yeah.
Remember I told you about this? And then there's like, it wasn't like a huge protest. Like it was like 9 idiots out there. They're like, men are men, God hates sin, all this bullshit. And there's like 8 or 9 people out there. They were loonies out there for a couple weeks. And then they went away. And then months later, they opened up the gender neutral bathroom. Holy shit. Like they painted this picture like you're going to walk into the bathroom. There was your sweet little girl's going to have to watch some guy with his wang out, in a woman's wig, sexually assaulting people and smoking pot or something. Like it was going to be this hedonistic party in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Turns out it's a bathroom with one toilet and a baby changing stall and a lock on the door.
Exactly.
And it's there because that way, if someone is trans and they feel like they don't feel comfortable going into the men's bathroom, but might feel comfortable going into the women's bathroom, but know that might make someone else call the police on them, that there is an option for them that they can feel comfortable. Holy shit. Let's protest.
Exactly.
It's like, who cares?
And here's how I know. Here's how I know all of these arguments are disingenuous. Because the argument is only ever about trans women. Yeah. That's the only conversation.
Or gay men.
we ever have. Yes, it's
Yeah.
gay men or trans women. That is the only conversation we ever have. How
Nobody
they're
cares
involved
about
in
two women and a guy porn. That's all. They love that.
Yeah, I would say nobody is ever talking about trans men using bathrooms. That never comes up. Nobody cares. But we always only care about trans women in sports. How do women feel? We can't define women anymore. We never talk about can we define men? That never comes up. That never comes up. And so that's how I know it's disingenuous.
Yeah.
Because only ever one type of trans person is targeted, and it's trans women. That we don't want them in bathrooms. We don't want them in sports. We just don't want them to exist at all. And so if this was really, really, really even about trans people, it would be about all kinds of trans people, but it's not. Because we only ever also talk about trans kids where we're like, what if they got a mastectomy, which is almost never happening? Or what if they wanted to have a baby? And so we never talk about trans men. We never do. And that's how I know it's disingenuous and rooted in sexism, because we only talk about trans women who present like women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, I'm sort of getting tired of the conversation because it's so hard to change someone's mind on this, because like they're so focused on the penis vagina thing, like but like if you're born with, like, everybody's born on a spectrum, right? When it comes to body type, hormones, like there are men who are super huge, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. There's average dudes like me and then there's men who are, very frail and, that sort of thing. And then there's women who are, born on a spectrum. But like we make this association, we tie these associations to, I think, and I'm not an expert on this, don't get me wrong, but like I know my boundaries. I try to know my boundaries, at least. Like there are, when you realize that we have a spectrum of like how many hormones our body produces and all of these different things, and then we build social norms based on what gender roles should be. Nobody is arguing biological sex. Biological sex is different from gender.
Yes.
Like your comment, with all due respect, that you made is like biological men are dangerous, women are not. Well, that's an oversimplification, but in general, on a spectrum, in a fight, I'm guessing that's where you're going. But you are assuming that just because someone is a biological male, that their hormones are exactly like yours were. And if you have to go through puberty when your hormones are more on the female side of the spectrum, but you have a male anatomy, and society is telling you that you should be A, but you feel like B, and then you're going through puberty of A when you should feel like you should be going through puberty of B, and then people are telling you that you are a criminal for being in that space and that you don't exist and all this shit. Like how about we not want people to kill each other, to kill themselves, or do hate crimes against trans people, or boycott fucking Drag Story Hour, which is literally someone in a wacky costume reading Hungry Hungry Caterpillar, and like, I wish that I would have been exposed to that when I was younger. I've said this lots of times, because then I wouldn't have grown up thinking that trans people and drag queens were just a bunch of weirdos who were like the derelicts of society, because that's what I grew up thinking. And I had to do research to unlearn that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's not because I wanted to unlearn it because I'm woke. It's because I talked to people and they enlightened me to things that I didn't realize before. I was doing damage by having opinions that, like, it was all made up, because my opinion on trans is relatively new. I've only been, advocating for this for probably the last year or so, because before that I didn't really understand it. So I kind of stayed away from it because I don't get all that stuff. Like that's weird. But then I realized, oh wait, there's not an agenda.
Yeah, the agenda is. Oh, go ahead. No,
I'm just saying, like, because there literally isn't one. You can't find one.
No, I do.
There's 2 cases in Kentucky and 1 in Tennessee of this. So therefore, across the country, everything happens this way.
Yeah, no,
Wrong.
I do have a gay agenda for my child. I would like them to become an adult. I would like them to go to college, and I would like them to be happy and find a partner who values who they are. That's my gay agenda for my child.
Right.
And that's what every parent wants. No, and I don't think I think this is a good conversation to have because it's important for people to be open to changing their mind. Like our society has become so divided and striated and so like ingrained, and we have to have these very specific opinions, and those are the only opinions that we can have. And so to say like you're new, you're learning, you're talking to trans people, that's huge. That's a message that people need to hear and need to be aware of and need to like. Last night I took my husband to his very first drag show he's ever been to, and he was really nervous. He's an introvert, so he first asked, should I bring a book? And I laughed at him. And I was like, honey, I'm not going to take you if you bring a book.
Yeah, bring Johnny the Walrus.
I know. I was like, what the hell are you talking about, honey? He is pretty introverted though, and just like kind of likes to do his own thing. But he was really nervous. He told me, I hope he's okay with me talking about this. He was actually really nervous. And he wasn't sure. He's like, what if I feel like disgusted? What if I feel like conflicted? I don't know, like all of the feelings he was concerned about. But he was really nervous. I was like, let's just go. I think you'll think this is different than what it appears. Because he was like, what if it's like really sexual? And I'm like, and you have like a gay panic? I'm okay with that. Like, I don't, we can live with that. And so we went, and about halfway through, I like checked in. I was like, okay, are you okay? Are you doing okay? And he was like, yeah, actually, he's like, this is really cool. And he was like, I tried to explain like what it was, and then he didn't get it till he saw it. But he's like, this is really just like artistic and funny. And Killmonger, you knew I have a husband. You've known for weeks now that I'm married. This isn't news. I've never been quiet about being married.
I saw that. I started laughing.
This isn't new. I think you guys just say it so I blush. You know I'm married. But
the ratings just went down. Okay. All the viewers laughed.
Everybody's like, we're out. She's married. Nah. It's not new. I've been married for 16 years. So anyway, he went and he was like, it's really artistic and like really fun. And I can see how this is like comedy and like a little bit of politics. And he said it was really interesting. We're going to go to like a drag brunch on Sunday. And he was like, I was nervous, and he was a little like on the fence about drag. He's like, maybe it shouldn't be around kids, maybe. And now he's like, oh, I could, like, we even went to like an adult club, and he's like, I can see how this is just art. This is just an expression. This is about costumes. This is about community. This is about telling a story.
It's literally Halloween.
Yeah.
And like there's a picture in my grandma's room of my uncle on Halloween in the 70s dressed as a girl.
Yeah.
And my uncle now, my same uncle, is like super like anti-drag show. Curious, isn't it?
Yeah.
That,
all
like,
of a sudden.
That it was like, okay, you can do this then, but like, and like it's and I kind of walked away from the point that I was making before. If I had been exposed to, like, the reason why they expose kids to people in drag is not to sexualize them. We want to talk about sexualizing. Let's start with Hooters. Anyway, and I see plenty of families eating in Hooters after church. But anyway, like if you're exposed to something, science has proven, and actually they've proven this with rats and with birds and with people. So it's a very robust study, is that when you're exposed to different groups, you have more empathy towards those groups.
Yeah.
Like there's literally a scientific study where white caged rats, right? I'm not associating people with rats. I'm just making one example in nature. White rats.
We're all just rats in a cage.
We are just rats. Yes, exactly. Smashing pumpkins. White rats will, if you put a white rat in a trap, another white rat will attempt to free them from that trap, like automatically, but will not help a rat of a different color. They won't, right? But if you expose a white rat to a black rat or a brown rat or whatever color for like a week, they have them live together in a cage, and then they do perform the same trick with a completely different colored rat that they've never met. And this isn't, white rats are not associated to white people. This is just a coincidence. Then they'll all of a sudden try to free that other rat, which before they wouldn't have tried to free. Like, you can look up these videos online. And they've repeated these studies over and over and over again. What is the point of them? The point of them is when you're exposed to different groups, you develop empathy towards those groups that you would not have had prior to spending time with someone from that group, and that doesn't mean you're going to be perfect, but there's a reason why segregation was bad, because it was unequal,
I mean a lot of reasons.
Right, but for socially,
there was one
right?
singular reason.
Yeah, there was only one reason why,
study.
and it was because of economics. But it was one of the main things that segregation hurt this country with was having an other, right? Keeping Black Americans as an other group that was going to infringe on the rights of the major group, right? But once you ended in segregation, slowly over time, most people are accepting towards at least individual Black people. They might still have worries about the Black community, but at large, like, they might not go party in the Black community, but like having a Black person at your house now today is not something that almost anyone would have a problem with.
No.
Where in the past 40 years ago, you would never have thought of such a thing. And this is all social sciences. It's like, and the same things are true with trans people. Like, and yes, it was true with people with tattoos and long hair and women wearing jeans and all this type of stuff, because as we progress through society, guess what? It's gonna change.
Well, and
it will change. It just might. It's just when is it going to take place?
Let's be really, really clear about what's going on here. The right was beating the Roe versus Wade drum for decades. Like, from the 70s, that was their siren call to get the troops ready, to get everybody hot and bothered and fired up and ready to vote Republican all day, all night. Yeah. So that was their issue du jour always. And that's gone now. Like, they basically won with that. The red states, like, I live in Idaho. You will die before you could get an abortion. You will not get an abortion. So it's just kind of fucking convenient that the minute they don't have Roe versus Wade to rally the troops, all of a sudden, there's this whole new problem, and it's trans people. It's trans people getting healthcare. It's trans people existing. They are the new boogeyman, because 5 years ago, nobody cared. Nobody cared. And all of a sudden, right now, it's huge. It's an emergency. We need to stop them from getting any healthcare. We need to stop them from being publicly visible. We need to stop drag queens with bills that will inadvertently hurt trans people. It's just really convenient that the minute the Republicans lose their, battle cry, that all of a sudden, we have a new one. And who is it? One of the most marginalized groups in our society. One of the groups that is most likely to die by suicide. One of the groups that is most likely to be murdered. One of the groups that is most likely to be excluded and discriminated against. And all of a sudden, gotta be watching out for those trans people.
Yep. ASMR? I know you got to go.
Oh, yeah. I didn't get anything good for ASMR. Let's see. I have this bag I got from my orthodontist.
The bags are good. By the way, real quick, before she starts this, if you're listening on the Dutch Jason channel, and I see there are 5 or 6 of you listening on the Dutch Jason channel. If you're on Dutch Jason, click the link to Dig Out America podcast. We will raid out of here in 3 or 4 minutes. So if you'd like to be part of that raid, I would ask you to do so. Come on over to the Dig Out America channel. This is on 2 Twitch channels at the time. And we'll go raid a small streamer and try to help somebody out. So with that, I pass it over to Lindsay for ASMR.
Here we go.
All right, Lindsay,
All right,
I will
see
see
you
you
guys
next
later.
week. All right, those of you, as Lindsay signs out, I will take us over to, because now you just get me. I will take us over on a raid, so bear with me for, I don't know, 1 minute while I pull up the studio. Hopefully my stream won't slow down too much. And we will go over, and who shall we, if anyone has an idea of anyone they would like me to raid, please let me know who you would think would be a good candidate. I will pause for a few seconds to see if anyone pops something in there. Yeah, someone just, okay. Let me put that in then. Hold on 1 second here. Thank you for that suggestion. So we'll do raid. Hopefully you spelled that right. Can't stop the kittens. Progressive Brat is no longer called Progressive Brat, Bill. It's Ariana now. Ariana Jasmine is her new name. So we are heading over there. I will see you guys Wednesday. Take care.